Choosing health, freedom, self-advocacy, the power of leaving. Welcome back, you guys. Today we're going to dive into what does this mean? The power of leaving. I'm going to go back to me leaving the Amish community and how that integrates into the same thing that so many people need to do in the modern world, especially when it comes to making decisions on health, choosing every single day to make better health choices or to advocate for yourself. What does it even mean to advocate for yourself? Because there's a lot of missing pieces here. So welcome, you guys. We're going to dive deep into this. Now, before I even get started on this is April 1st. And yesterday, March 31st, I launched my 6-week Undiet You program again. This is only 6 weeks. And for this week only, if you're listening to this, you can still join this program. Now, this program is everything that I'm going to be talking about today and more. So I'm going to teach you so many things here. This is stuff that you should have learned when you were in high school or younger, because I already teach my son a lot of these things. And if you would have learned these things, you wouldn't be in this place of going from fat diet to fat diet, looking for the next quick fix because you don't understand how to fuel your body. Like, what does that even look like? And the endless promises of diets. They give you these promises, you grab onto it, you do it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you gain all the way back plus interest on that. And what I teach you is what does it even mean to fuel your body with good food? Like, we're not dieting, we're really learning the basis, like the foundation of all the things that you should know anyway. And if you would have learned this a long time ago, you wouldn't be in this place. Like, this is all the stuff that people need to know so that you can better advocate for yourself and you can better take care of your health. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing, when it comes to your health more empowering than knowing how to fuel your body with good food. What is enough protein? What is enough carbs? What is enough fat? What does that even look like? Even being taught those terms. Most people aren't taught those terms. But the thing is, you eat every single day, right? And not having that education and knowing how to actually do that is detrimental to your health. And so that's what I teach you. I'm not teaching you to diet. I'm teaching you how to do these things so that you can take that with you for the rest of your life. And it's a 6-week program. I'm teaching you, not just telling you. The basic like level that you can get in on is $99 for the entire 6 weeks. Like, literally, this should be a $500 program, but it's $99. Maybe one day it'll be $500. And if you want the next level up and you want VIP, which I highly recommend, because with the VIP, you get 6 live calls with me. So every single week at a dedicated time, we get on these live calls, and everybody that's in VIP gets to come on those calls. I ran this program back in January through early March, and the people that were in VIP had so much success. People in the basic did too, but with a VIP, you just get so much more out of it because they really looked forward to those calls every single week, and they were able to ask questions and everybody was able to get some help, and it's just invaluable. That one's only $50 more, $149. So I want to invite you guys over. It's going to be in the show notes, but also go to undietyou.com and you're going to look for the 6-week program and enter there. Come join us. I know that it launched yesterday, March 31st, but you can still join this week and you'll still get the full 6 weeks and all the materials and everything. So you can still come in. So come join us. Okay. So today's episode, like, what does this mean? Like, what does it mean to advocate for yourself? What does it mean to leave behind, right? The power of leaving and take care of yourself. Okay. So I'm going to step back a little bit. I'm going to tell you a little story. So when I was in my teenage years, I really struggled with a lot of health issues. And I'm not going to go into, major details on this. If you haven't read my book, Amish Renegade, Definitely recommend that you go get that. I have much more information in there, and you can find it on Amazon on all formats. With that being said, I had a massive eating disorder when I was a teenager because I got bullied for my weight, even though I wasn't overweight. I was heavier than my twin. So I got bullied for that. And that really led me into a terrible eating disorder that I didn't know I had until a few years ago. I realized that I actually had a really bad eating disorder. So it starved myself. And then I got addicted to laxatives. I would just take excess laxatives because I wanted to, like, whatever I ate. So instead of throwing up, I would take laxatives to get rid of things the other way. I was determined to lose weight and be smaller than my twin because I always got compared to her. And my form of getting approval and being good enough was proving that I can be smaller than my twin. Well, it didn't work that way because I still wasn't happy. And it also brought on like a lot of health issues. I was anemic. I had a lot of issues, and I would have my mom would send me to go see a chiropractor that specialized in like colonostomies and stuff like that, and colonics. And so I went through all that and I did get better eventually, but I had a terrible image like with my body. Like a body dysmorphia was like through the roof. And you wouldn't really think that that was a thing in the Amish community because you're like, you don't have access to TV, you don't have access to the internet, you don't have access to celebrity style stuff, and you're not really comparing yourself to that. But I got compared to my twin, and so we got compared from the moment that we were born. With that being said, it's important to recognize when those things happen, and there has to be a time in your life, if you know that that's what's going on, that you have to break that, because that's like an attachment, that's a stronghold, and you may be able to break away. And although I broke away from the Amish community, I haven't seen my twin in like 12 years. There was still always things year after year, time after time, things that came into my life that without me even really knowing, that comparison was coming in. So even though I wasn't comparing myself to my twin, that stronghold was still there, and I was comparing myself drastically to other people. And comparison is the thief of joy. It will rob you of joy because you'll never feel good enough if you're comparing. So with that being said, after I left, it just kind of haunted me, and I kept going. And what that image ended up doing with the relationship that I had with myself, and this is the reason I'm sharing this, is because I know that there are millions of people that struggle with this. That eventually led me into my health career because I realized and discovered at some point that I was really passionate about health. So I want to share something here real quick. Whatever like pain and hard things that you're going through, know this: that pain is not for nothing. Nothing is for nothing. It should always lead you to something greater, whether it's your purpose, mission, your passion. It should always lead you to something. So nothing is for nothing, and always remember that. So when I look back now to that pain that I experienced and the years of it haunting me, I realize now that it actually led me to my passion and my purpose and what I do now. And I can look back and smile and be like, it wasn't for nothing. And so what it eventually did, like in my, where it really started to show up, is when I was early on in my training career. And then before that, I had gotten addicted to, I wasn't doing laxatives anymore because I did the laxative stuff when I was at home. But I jumped on like fad diet. So I did, these crazy things. And I've talked about this before. And that eventually led, to other health issues. And so what I want to share here is the example of leaving the Amish community and what that means. When I left the Amish community, I had to decide that I was going to leave behind most things that I knew and did. Okay. So if you're in this place where you're like, I don't like where I'm at, I don't like where my health is at, I don't like where I'm going, I know I need change. One of the things that you have to be willing to do is to leave behind most things that you thought you knew that you had to do and be willing to learn new things. The epitome of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, hoping for different results. It just does not happen. It's not possible. You have to change in order for change to happen in your life. So let's say, for example, you are in this place where you're like, I get up every morning, I drink my coffee, I go to work, I kind of eat like whatever I want. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I get home from work, and then I eat dinner, and then, I watch whatever TV, and then I go to bed. But that's not getting you closer to your goal. You're not really planning around it or anything like that. What you need to think about is, what do I need to do differently? And so here's where the decision comes in. If you feel like you've tried everything, you've done all the diets, maybe you've even done diet pills, Ozempic, whatever, and it didn't really work, it's time to do things differently. But you have to decide that you want different, and this time it's going to be different. So, to paint a picture here, when I left the Amish community, I had to decide that and know and believe that the family was going to be left behind. I was not going to be part of the family anymore. The church and the community that I was a part of, I wasn't going to be part of that anymore. I knew that. And I knew that they were going to shun me. You're not Amish and leaving behind your family and your friends and stuff. There's no shunning. But what I want you to think about is, who are you hanging out with? Who are the people you're hanging out with? Are you hanging out with people that, when you go out to eat, it's only at fast food places and the food's not serving you and getting you closer to your goals? Are you only hanging out with people that only want to drink every time you go out? Or when you hang out, it's always drinking? Are you hanging out with people that have a negative mindset all the time? And you want different. If you are sitting in that environment, they say you become who the five people that you hang out with the most. And so if those are the people that you're hanging out with, but you want different, you're going to have to make a decision and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this environment anymore. And I have to break up with that environment and go over here where I know that I need to go in order to help myself, advocate for myself, feel empowered, and reach my goals. And so the hardest part for people is making that decision that, hey, the environment that I'm in and the people that I'm hanging out with, this is not helping me. And so that happened when I left the Amish community. And I'll tell you another story. So after I left the Amish community, there was a few years that I had like my Rumspringa after I left the Amish community. I had my wild times out partying, crazy stuff, not like drugs and stuff, but like for an Amish girl or former Amish girl, it was crazy to me. And there came a time in my life, that was for a few years, but there came a time in my life where I was like, I don't want to live this life anymore. But I had so many friends in that party arena. Like, I was like, wow, I really like these people. They like me. And I had sort of like, I liked that they liked me and all of that stuff. And so I was at that place where I was like, I can't live this life anymore. I don't want to do this. But I was so afraid of losing my friends that I knew pretty much only in the party field. And if you know anything about former Amish parties, they are crazy. They have like 200 to 300 people almost every weekend, as in somebody's woods or the barn or the shop. Like, somebody's going to put a party together. And so that's what it was. But towards the end of that, what I told myself was, if I leave the Amish or if I not the Amish community, if I leave this environment and I say, I'm not going to go to parties anymore, I'm not drinking anymore, any of that stuff. And if my friends don't want to hang out with me anymore because of that, they are not my real friends and I need new friends. And so that's a decision I made. And so I left that environment, or some of the friends like still stayed around and stuff for a while. And then there were others that also like left the party scene and they didn't want to be a part of that anymore. And so, we kept hanging out and stuff, but majority of them, they didn't want to hang out after that. Like they didn't, that there was no other reason for them to hang out because they wanted to continue to party and drink and whatever, and I didn't. And so I just told myself that and I cut it clean. And it's really interesting because if there are things in your life that are not serving you, you have to make a decision and say, I'm going to cut it clean and it's not going to be in my life anymore because I know that if it's in my life, it has this hold over me and I don't want that because it's not serving me. And so if it's something like that, you have the power. Your brain is very powerful, but you have the power to make that decision and say, no more. And that is the power of leaving. It's not just about the power of leaving the Amish, it's the power of leaving environments, circumstances. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need to leave that abusive relationship. Like, that's not okay. And a lot of people feel like they're trapped, especially women. Like they're in an abusive relationship, they feel like they're trapped in that relationship. And the reality is you have the power to leave. So know that you have that within you. You may have to get a little resourceful. You may have to reach out to people that you trust to lean on and help you, but don't stay in an abusive relationship. It's not worth it. So that's what you want to think about. So it starts with a decision. Okay. And then after that decision, after you make that decision and you've decided that you want different, it's all about action. What kind of action steps are you taking after that? If you're someone that's like, hey, I don't want to be only drinking anymore every single weekend, I don't want to do fast food. Like, I really want to learn how to eat better, take care of myself, exercise, get sleep, and all that, you're going to have to set a different environment. So the action step is, what plan do you have in place and what actions are you taking to set your environment up for success? You have to take action behind that. So you got to get a plan in place and say, okay, these are the action steps that I'm going to be taking. And you create like habit stacking. And then it's about, commitment to that action plan. So you have to commit. So the difference between setting a goal and actually committing is that you can say, hey, I have a goal, I want to get here. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are you committed to that goal? Because everything starts with commitment after that. How committed are you? So when I'm working with my clients, I ask them, hey, what's your goal for the week? And they tell me, what their goal is. Okay, now I want to ask you what you're committed to. What are you committed to? And they're like, whoa, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's a difference between setting a goal and then being committed to that. So ask yourself what you are committed to. Are you committed to 3 workouts a week? Are you committed to making sure you go to bed each night around the same time to get enough sleep? Are you committed to making sure that you're eating protein? Like, what is your commitment? And you have to be really honest with yourself because anybody can set a goal, but with no action steps and commitment behind that, you're not going to do it. If I do ask someone like what their commitment is and their answer is, well, I'm going to try, I stop them right there and I ask them, well, why are you just trying? They're like, what? I'm like, okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to practice something. And you can practice this too. I'm going to try to get 5 walks in this week. Okay. How did it feel saying that? I'm going to try to do it. And every single person's like, oh, it feels like I'm not actually committed. I'm like, exactly. So now what I want you to do is say, I'm going to do 5 walks this week. And then I ask them how they feel after that. Oh, I actually feel like I'm going to do it. Like I'm committed to it. I'm going to walk 5 times this week. And everything is in your wording and in your belief system. So if you believe you're going to, and you say you're going to do the 5 walks for the week, you're going to do it. If you say, I'm going to try to do it, chances are you might get 2 walks in, you might get 3 walks in, but you're not really committed to it. And it all starts with the belief. Now, I want to tell you something. If you have to break away from relationships because you don't want to be in that environment anymore, you don't have to look down on them. You don't have to try to convince them to come with you. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that you're choosing to advocate for yourself, take care of yourself, and to choose a different route because you want different for yourself. Okay? Now, I'll warn you, this happens all the time. A lot of times, the people that are still living in that environment, they will look down on you. They will talk bad about you. Why are you doing this? You're no fun anymore. We can't hang out if you're not drinking. And the reason for that is 99% of people actually want to feel better. They actually want a different life, but it's the willingness to actually make the changes. And so misery loves company. So if the people that are still drinking all the time, fast food and all that, are trying to pull you in and they're making you feel bad for not being involved in that, it's only because they want you to be on their level. They want you to be in the misery with them. And so you get to decide, you get to choose whether or not you give in to that, or you continue to advocate for yourself and just say, hey, no, like that's not part of my life anymore. This is why I'm doing this. And I have a gal that I've been working with for a while, and it's really interesting because she is in a group of friends, and about 9 months ago, we started working together. Major health issues, especially for someone that is still super young. Shouldn't be having the health issues that she is. Tried many doctors, just didn't get any answers. All they wanted to do was put her on birth control and weight loss prescriptions and stuff like that. And she just never wanted to do that. And mind you, this is a person that had been on a nonstop period for 4 months. Okay. So she comes to me and we start working together. And after we start working together, she didn't ask her friends for their opinion on whether or not she should work with me, but she told them that she was going to be working with me. And, her friends were like really hesitant about it. They just didn't think it was the right thing for her, even though she didn't ask for their opinion, they were giving their opinion. Well, fast forward 6 months later, the majority of them still don't approve of what she's doing, but one of them, she decides to go on Ozempic. And this is a person that's going on Ozempic, but chose to attack my client and say, hey, like that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. All of these things. And it was mind blowing to me. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I recently asked her, I was like, hey, because she's made such amazing changes. Like the way that she's now gone from being on a period for 4 months straight to now it's regulating to nearly the every 4 weeks that we're at 3 weeks now. It started with like finally getting it to stop, and then it was coming and going faster than it was coming sooner than it should have. And at one point it was still lasting, a few weeks. And this is the epitome of, hey, this stuff takes time. And so then eventually she was at that place where it was coming and going, but it was still lasting too long. It was like lasting like 2 weeks, which was still like way better than the 4 months. And then now over time, now it's like every 3 weeks, and it's lasting for 7 days in less than a year. That's how much improvement she's made, along with so many other things, so much improvement on her labs and stuff like that. And at the same time, I asked her the other day, I was like, so What do your friends say? She's like, nothing. There's only one out of the entire group that approves. I'm like, well, you don't need their approval. She's like, no, I don't. I'm not looking for their approval, but it's just really interesting because I was like, do they even know? She's like, no, no, they don't. I was like, all right, well, they also can't, give their feedback or anything if they don't know like how drastically things have changed and it's none of their business. But it would be interesting to hear like what happens if she said, hey, this is where I was a year ago and here's where I'm at now, but they're only looking for the external result. Like, how much weight has she lost? They're only looking for that. And here's the thing, you have to remember that if you have such massive things going on internally, we're talking about thyroid issues, hormone issues, PCOS, gut issues, massive sleep issues. It was like 4 different things, like layer after layer after layer of things with her period and all that. That I was like, she's lost weight and she looks amazing, but she wants to lose more weight. But what her friends see is just weight loss. They don't see like all the other stuff that has improved. And so what I told her, I was like, listen, this is just an example of how much time it can take for the body to start balancing out and healing. You didn't get to your circumstance only in a year. You got there, it was like 10 or more years of these issues. And so you can't expect a body to just be like, boom, all fixed now. No, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes consistency. And that is the place where a lot of people give up. You have to decide that you're in it for the long haul. So, for an example, like when I left the Amish community, this is so crazy how the two connect. But when I left the Amish community, I knew I was in it for the long haul. I never looked back. I never went, oh man, I really just want to go back to my old ways. I want to go back. I didn't. It was extremely uncomfortable putting myself out into the world, learning a new job, getting to know what it's actually like living in the real world, modern technology, realizing that there was a lot of things I didn't know and I had to learn. And so I never looked back. And because I never looked back, I was fully committed to whatever I needed to do. The same applies here. There is no looking back and going back to your comfort zone. Period. Your goals die in your comfort zone. If you want different, you do different. And that is not in your comfort zone. You have to do things differently. So if you have decided and committed to changes, health changes, habit changes, doing things differently, you're going to have to decide and commit to yourself that you will not, just because things get hard and difficult and you don't want to do it anymore, you will not go back to what you did before. You will never break the cycle if you do, and you will be frustrated for the rest of your life if you do. And so when you start, you need to promise yourself that you will not revert back to your comfort zone. Had this conversation with a few clients the other day, a couple of them frustrated, and frustration will happen. Things were not going the way they wanted to. There was an injury. They were like, oh, I just wanted to throw in the towel. I was like, what does that mean? What does throwing in the towel mean? Oh, I just feel like, I don't know if it's worth it. I was like, why is it not worth it? I don't know. Like, I just, it's hard and I'm not as far along as I want to be. And I have all these issues. And I'm like, so what does throwing in the towel mean? It means I give up on myself. Mhm. Exactly. Because you want to be comfortable. You desire to be comfortable. Comfortable doesn't get you there. You have to change. and you have to decide that you want change. It's the same thing in business. If you want your business to do well, you can't be comfortable. You got to do shit that's not comfortable. And that is the same thing every day when you get up. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm here. Now let's get to work. What am I committed to? And you go do it. You make a plan and you go do it. Some things are going to be fun and exciting, and some things you're going to be like, oh, I don't really want to do this. This sucks, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's what I tell myself. If it's something that I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this, but I know it's important, I just tell myself, well, this is going to suck, but I'm going to do it anyway. And you know what that does actually? It flips a switch in my brain where I'm like, nah, it's not that bad actually. I can do it. It's fine. And I just get it done. And so, if you're like, well, I know I need to get my workout done today, but you're like, I don't know. No, like really in the mood, but I didn't really work out this week, so I need to go get it done. That's what you can tell yourself. And remember your why. So, self advocacy. How do you advocate for yourself? Okay. You advocate for yourself by getting up every single day, being grateful for what you have and who you are and what you're blessed with. Okay. Because everything starts with gratitude. And then your advocacy for yourself starts with all the habits and all the steps that you take from there. That means you're advocating for yourself. Advocating for yourself means you're separating yourself from the environments that don't serve you and your purpose anymore. Environment's not good. If you're in an environment where it's only fast food, pizza, pasta, fast food, alcohol, whatever, that environment is not going to help you get to your goals. It's not going to help you sleep better, feel better, energy, hormones, thyroid, weight loss. It's not going to help you. So if you want those things, you're going to have to break up with that environment. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't ever have any of those things anymore. That's not what it means. It just means it's not as prominent in your life. And so you're going to have to break up with some things. The question you have to ask yourself is, how committed am I? And so when you break up with that environment, you're advocating for yourself and you're saying, I want better. I want different. And I'm going to advocate for myself because I deserve it. Advocating for yourself can also mean when you go see a doctor and you say, this is what's going on. This is the testing that I want. And if the doctor doesn't listen to you, advocating for yourself is walking away and finding someone that does. Either a doctor, someone like me, because I run lab work and it's going to be the most in-depth lab work that you've ever done. And you're not going to be told that you're fine. That's advocating for yourself. So one of the things that I work so strongly with my coaching clients is how to use their voice and how to advocate for themselves. I had to learn how to do that. When I left at 19 years old, had $20 in my pocket. I didn't have anything with me other than the clothes that I was wearing. And I realized that I needed to get my social security number and get a job and all those things. I had to learn how to start advocating for myself, but it took me years of being able to actually use my voice. And I'm still learning how to use my voice properly. It's gotten a lot better in the last 2 years, let's just say that, because I didn't realize for so long how much I was hiding. Using your voice doesn't mean you're loud and boisterous and mean or anything like that. Doesn't mean that. It means that you use your voice for what it's good for, what your mission and your purpose is to help the people that you are here to help. So you speak up. I was a perpetual people pleaser. Why do you think I had thyroid issues? Perpetual. Everybody thought I was like, just everything was good. Everything was good in my life. I was agreeable when I shouldn't have been agreeing, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting a divorce, and people are like, what the heck just happened? I did not see that coming. And I was like, yeah, well, That's what happens when you don't use your voice and all of a sudden you find yourself dying on the inside and you realize how much of yourself you have lost because you did not use your voice where you needed to use it. And that's what happens. You lose yourself. If you're a people pleaser, you lose yourself. So you use your voice. You don't use your voice, you're going to have thyroid problems. You're going to have autoimmune Hashimoto's problems connected to your voice if you don't use your voice. Know your voice, know who you are, advocate for yourself, use your voice. But it starts with your environment and stepping away from the environments that are not serving you and your purpose and your mission. So remember, what are you committed to? What change do you need to make in order to start advocating for yourself? What's your plan? Ask yourself those things. What's my plan? What change am I committed to? And how will I advocate for myself? Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning into the Lizzie Ens Show. If you're ready to take the next step to transforming your health and life, visit www.undietyou.com for all my resources and to book your consultation today. Don't forget to subscribe and join me each week for more tips, inspiration, and conversations with phenomenal guests to help you feel your best. See you guys next week.